Hello and welcome to Down the Slope. I'm Ewan. I'm once again joined by Liam, Harry, and Greg. And this episode is very much a Hibernian women's special. We've been lucky to be joined with Dean Gibson, manager, head coach. What's your official title, Dean?
I'll let Smalley answer that one.
Is this PG or what?
However, as non-PG as possible. And as you've already have been joined by Rachael Boyle as well. How are you doing, Rachael?
All right, thanks. Yourself?
Good, not too bad. So, Dean, I think we'll just get straight into it. Obviously, the season's back up and running on Sunday. Just how excited are you to get back into action? Obviously, it's been a long few months.
Yeah, we're excited. I think the whole group are now excited just to get back running about and exercising in a way that we all enjoy. So, for the competitive games to be coming around so quick, it's probably not actually ideal, but we'll certainly not complain because there was a point where I thought we were never going to get back until next season. So we'll just need to take it as it comes. But as a group, we're certainly excited to get going again.
Good. And obviously back August, September time, I think we spoke before the season started last year. We're obviously confident that we were probably in a better place in the summer than maybe we had been if the season had started at its original date. How do you feel that the squad's looking after this sort of second lockdown period?
Okay. I think we've actually been quite unlucky all through the campaign that we've already had. We've had injuries all the way through it, and we came back, we played a friendly, and we got another 3 injuries on the back of that. So we're lucky to have a squad size that can cover it. We're maybe a bit lighter in certain areas of the pitch, but I certainly got faith in all the players that when one drops out, the player going in is more than capable of going in and doing the same job. So yeah, more than happy with the squad going into the first game of the return.
Perfect. And Rachel, obviously, I'll maybe come to yourself. Obviously, how's the period of no games and no training been for you? And obviously, like your husband's still been able to do the sport that you both love. Has that made it almost even more difficult for you being able to see Martin going to training and playing games?
Yeah, I think for myself personally, the second lockdown hit me harder than the first. I think with the weather, the dark nights, the cold weather, it was difficult to get out and train, and we had a few family issues health-wise that we struggled with as well. So I was kind of taking care of that as well. So for me, I had other things to be thinking about, and it wasn't just purely football related. So yeah, I struggled, but now that we're back in the flow of things and I'm back with the girls, I'm definitely getting my motivation back and just trying to hit the ground running.
I know it's a bit of a random question, Rachael, but obviously you had was it about a year out from playing when you went through pregnancy? How did that impact on your career? Do you feel that you are a different player now that you've had that long out the game, or has it not really had much of an impact?
I think in terms of my actual football, I don't think it's had too much of an impact. In terms of my life away from football, I've definitely got other things to focus on. So for me, before I had my daughter, football was the be all and end all. I would come away from a game, and if we had lost or I'd played rubbish or something, I would be thinking about it constantly until the next game, really, till I could put it right. But now that I've got Amelia running about, as soon as I come home, football's put to the back of my mind and I forget about it until we turn up to the next training session and go again. So yeah, definitely away from football, my life's changed. But when it comes to a Sunday and it comes to training sessions, I'm fully focused on that and the team, and I guess from that sense, nothing's really changed.
And a question for either of you can feel free to answer. Obviously, we didn't have the most luck before the COVID ended up stopping the season for however long. But performance-wise, it wasn't that bad. There was quite a few games on TV that we've managed to catch and stuff. Why do you think that the results haven't been going the team's way so far?
I think it's just been what you said, luck. I genuinely, and it was trying to reiterate that to the players. There's no getting away. Take the team name out. The Hearts game hurt the most. Nothing to do with Edinburgh Derby. That was sort of the fourth one in a row. So that one hurt the most. And after that game, the players, myself, Roddy, the coaching staff, everyone were probably asking questions. But when you actually went away and reflected on the game, there was nothing we could really go to training and say we need to do better other than take our chances. If we went and take our chances, eventually that luck was going to turn. If we were getting beat and we weren't creating chances, it would have been a different story. But the fact is, there was nothing more we could really ask for the girls other than be a bit more composed and relax in front of goal. And the more that spell goes on, the harder that becomes. And luckily that against Forfar we managed to score an early goal, and you've seen the difference, that the confidence then just flowed right through the team. And I genuinely don't believe we're any better against Forfar than we were against Hearts. The difference was we scored a goal and we took the belief out of Forfar. Whereas the longer the games were going on, the more belief these sort of teams had against us. So I genuinely put it down to luck, or bad luck on our part. I wouldn't necessarily say the other teams were lucky because they've had to work hard and do what they've had to do, but it was more bad luck on our part, I would say, rather than anything else.
On the back of that question, Rachel, from a playing perspective, there's been quite a lot of talk about the sort of extra investment that the two Glasgow clubs have put into, or should we say Celtic and Rangers in this case, have put into women's football. Have you noticed the standard and the intensity in the league that's gone up in the games that you've played so far this season?
I think because the season's been a bit stop-start, you've not really been able to notice as much. I definitely think the next time we play them will be a completely different game from before. Rangers have obviously strengthened, and so have Celtic, so it's going to be difficult to try and compete, but it's something that we're confident we can do as long as we play to our potential. Obviously with the investment that they've had, they've brought in some great players and maybe weakened Glasgow City with the players that they've took off of them. So yeah, it'll be interesting. You've seen the game before lockdown that Rangers went and absolutely annihilated Glasgow City. So the league's definitely changing, and I think we need to try and, as a club, keep up first and foremost. We need to invest in the women's team because that's the only way we're going to be able to get better. We can bring players in as much as we want, but unless we can solely focus that investment into the squad and really push to get near the top, we're definitely going to be struggling for the next couple of years in like a transition period. But at the same time, we've got some quality young players, and if we can get some confidence into them, like we did at the weekend, scoring some goals and getting some smiles on their faces, then I think we're definitely in with a chance of pushing the top clubs.
Just kind of on the back of that, how confident are you about the restart? Do you think you'll hit the ground running, or are you hoping to really kind of put the wrongs right, so to speak, at the start of the season?
I think for the pre-season friendlies that we've had, we obviously got beat by Spartans, which was a frustrating one for us. But I think in hindsight, it's probably worked in our favour because it's shown us that we're not where we need to be and we need to improve. And I think when you look at the result we had against Motherwell in the second pre-season friendly, albeit it's a friendly, we scored some great team goals and we really got the confidence flowing. So if we can take the confidence and the team play that we had from that game and going into the Spartans game for the first competitive game back, then I think we'll really hit the ground running and we'll start to show people that we're a team to be worried about and team to not so much. I'm sure that they won't fear us, but at the same time, they'll know that they're going to be in for a tough game. They know that they won't be able to walk all over the top of us. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting started and really get going with the competitive games.
Another question. I don't know if this will be a tough question or not. Obviously, last time you were on the pod, Dean, Charlotte joined you. We thought that she had a good start to the season. We were quite surprised the other day when we saw that she'd left the club. Is there anything that you can pass on in regards to that? And do you think that her leaving the club will have quite an impact on the first team?
I'll start with the second one. Yeah, I think she was an influential player. There's no getting away for that. She brought experience. So that's something on the pitch that we're going to miss, but it's not really something that I can talk about. What I can say is I've got a squad of players there or I've got a squad. Every one of the players, I've got pride in wearing the badge, and I've got belief in the players that I've got, and the players know how much a privilege it is to play for this club. And if someone or if the players don't want to represent, then I'm not going to force them to stay or anything like that. But for me, I'm certainly not going to deny that Charlotte was an influential player for us, but at the same time, it gives someone else an opportunity now to come and prove that they could be just as influential as Charlotte was.
Yeah. And Rachel, what about yourself? What's your opinion on Charlotte leaving?
Yeah, just reiterate what Dean said. She was a good player. She brought experience and a bit of composure to the team. She liked to get her foot on the ball. So from that perspective, we will miss her. But at the same time, we've got players in that dressing room that could do a job for us and can do the same as her, given a chance. I think you've got the likes of Ria, who's maybe came up through the youth and worked with Dean, so she knows how he operates, and she's been sitting on the bench, and she's probably unlucky to in some of the games because Ria's top quality. She can put the ball down at her feet and she can make some passes and stuff. So yeah, it'll give the likes of her a chance to show what she can do and really make an impact in the squad.
You've got quite an interesting run of fixtures post the Spartans and Motherwell game. You've got Rangers, Glasgow City, and Celtic, and then Hearts. How much do you allow yourself to look ahead to some of those games, particularly the Edinburgh Derby game? We all know as fans that's one that we kind of mark in the calendar and think to ourselves, there's an opportunity for some revenge. How much can you guys afford to look ahead to some of those fixtures?
Okay,
I think.
Sorry.
Yeah, carry on. You go.
I think I'll answer it from a coaching point, and then Smalley can maybe give you a better answer as a player. From a coaching point of view, I only really look at the next one because depending how that game goes, sort of depends how you'll set up for your next one. So, for example, if we play Rangers and we beat them, can we afford to then maybe sit off a little bit in the second one and play for a point? Whereas if you get beaten that first one, maybe getting 3 points the next game is more important. So it's important for us as coaches that we try to just take it one game at a time. I've made no secret the last time I was on, I was a Hibs fan, so when I see the Hearts games, they're always exciting. Didn't go our way the last time, but hopefully we can put that one right, because that one has been the first Edinburgh Derby that's going to be shown on, or first Women's Derby that's going to be shown on BBC Alba. So that's an exciting one for us, and one that it's our home game, and one that when it's on the TV, you certainly don't want to lose. But before that comes, we've got Spartans before we've even got Rangers, so Hearts is miles away in our minds right now.
Yeah, for me, I think when you look at that run of games, we went through it the first part of the season, and it was a tough run of games, and it was a real confidence knocker for us. I think we started the season really well. We got a positive result against Spartans and Motherwell, went into Rangers full of confidence, and we just missed out on that one. I think we deserved a point at the very least against Rangers. We were unlucky, and then to go into the Celtic game and get beat the way that we did, it took a lot out of us. And yeah, as you say, going into the Hearts game, we didn't perform. We didn't do the things that we needed to do to win the game. So looking ahead now, we see that it's the same run of games, the same order. So for us, it's all about bettering what we did the first half of the season and making sure that we come out of that run of fixtures with a better result than we did the last time.
Yeah, obviously, both of you have touched on like the sort of the tricky running games that we had before the lockdown. Dean, obviously before the season started, you said obviously we want to still have the same ambitions that the club's always had, despite the investment from Celtic and Rangers. Do you still sort of hold the same ambitions for us to be challenging sort of up in the top two and to win the cups and stuff, or like Rachel mentioned earlier, do you think the club is going to go into a little bit of maybe a transition period now with them because we just haven't matched that investment?
I mean, we are in a transition period now. There's no getting away from that. What I would say is, although this feels like we're starting a season again, but we're not. So we've got to remember that we're 9 points off the top now. We're 6 points off third place now, or something along them lines. So the reality is, our ambitions for this season has maybe changed in regards to we can't afford to. We couldn't, if you said to me at the start of the season, I'll give Rangers a 9 point start to the league. Are you going to win it? We would probably say no. So that's the reality of where we're at. But what's important for us is we claw as many points back as we can, and we finish as close to these teams as we can. I think the ambition at Hibs will always be for us to compete at the top end of the league. And as long as we're getting backed properly and there's an investment going in, I've got no doubts that we'll be able to do that. But we can only do so much as players and as coaches, and comes from other avenues. And what I can say is there's exciting plans in place, there's exciting plans coming from summer onwards. So for us, if you're asking me long term, do I think we can match the clubs and still challenge? I think we can. But we are in a transition period, and it's something that we can't ignore. It's just the reality of where we're at right now. So we are in a transition, but if you're asking me long term, do I think that we can match these teams in? Yeah.
And Rachel, from a player's point of view, is this sort of, like Dean says, if there's sort of things maybe coming after the season, sort of from the summer, is it an exciting time to maybe be involved in the club? Obviously, the women's game as a whole across the country is getting a lot more emphasis put on it on the back of the World Cup, and the BBC Alba deal that's been agreed, and obviously even the league down south is going to be on Sky Sports. Is it an exciting time to be involved in women's football just now?
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't think lockdowns helped because women's football was really on the rise before lockdown came. It's promising to see what's happening down south with the English league being backed so heavily by the media, and it's good to see that BBC Alba are now showing a game every weekend. So it's exciting times, and as you say, Hibs as a club, we've always been a good platform for players to show their talents and maybe get a move and go on to bigger and better things, which a few of our players have already done, and credit to them. So yeah, I think in terms of being a young player coming through, Hibs is the club to be at. you've got a great platform there to go and perform, and a good group of girls who will push you on to be as good as you can be every Sunday, and every training session we're turning up and we're demanding the best from each other, because that's the only way we're going to get better. So yeah, as a club, it's exciting. It always has been, and I don't see anything of that going to change regardless of investment or not. But obviously you see it with the Glasgow clubs who are heavily investing in their teams, that they're just pushing on now, and we need to, as a team and a club, try and keep pace.
Dean, we mentioned it at the start of the season, but the youth system at Hibs has always been brilliant. Like, some of the top Scotland players have come through the ranks at Hibs. Is the investment in the league something that could impact on that? Would that attract other players that aren't like from Hibs academies to go to other academies, so that they can kind of get to the clubs that have got investment before, or is it not impacted on the youth teams yet?
I wouldn't say it has. I think naturally that Hibs have always been a strong women's team. So when your team's at the top, most young players want to come to that academy because they see that as a pathway into one of the best women's teams in the country. What you've now got naturally is more competition. So players from Glasgow don't need to come to Edinburgh anymore to play for one of the top women's teams. They can just go down the road. So that's nothing to say that it's down to investment or anything. I think it's just more competition within the country, which, if we're being honest, is best for the women's game, because the more teams that are competing at under 50s, under 70s is only going to make these players better. If you've only got one or two teams in the whole country at an age group, how much better are these players going to become, or how much are they going to develop? So the stronger the Celtic, Rangers academies become, the Spartans, all of them, the better it is for us as well. And although it might mean we don't have as many of the good young players anymore, when we do play games, or more competitive games for the calendar, which is, I think, more important to develop the ones that we do have.
Yeah, definitely. And Rachel, for yourself, you've been at the club, I believe it's 5 years now, because I think it was 2016. I've done some research earlier. What's been your highlight since joining Hibs?
My highlights, there's been a few. I think winning the Scottish Cups are always a biggie. It's always been a long, hard season, and to play the Scottish Cup final in the last game of the season and win it, it's a special way to finish off a season. Obviously, we won the Scottish Cup in the same year that the men's did, so that was huge. And then we went on to win another trophy on the 21st of May, which was obviously a special date for the club. So yeah, they've been special, but at the same time, you can't beat playing in Champions League and walking out at Easter Road and playing Champions League nights in Easter Road, albeit that we've never really had the results that we want when we play there. But yeah, it's exciting times, and hopefully we can have more nights like those for the younger girls coming through, and people that we can maybe attract to the club and say this is what you could achieve when you're playing for Hibs. So they're probably the highlights. But at the same time, there's things that you want to achieve with the club, and winning the league is always going to be one of them. So that's definitely our priority.
Well, as we won the Scottish Cup at the same time, I'm sure that you can win the league at the same time as well, so that'll be cracking.
My link here is a tedious one because it's links to cups, but I was going to mention, saw an article on the BBC today just talking about the potential of a second-tier women's European competition. How big an incentive for you as a group, as a player, as a coach, is that there's a potential that you could be playing European football potentially again next season, just like the men's team? Is that something that you guys are able to think about just yet?
Yeah, I think it's actually something that I spoke to Stuart Maguire, who's our general manager, about before, and asked if there was actually talk of any of these competitions happening, because there's certainly scope for it now in the women's game. There probably wasn't 5 years ago, 4 years ago, but when you look at, there's full-time teams in our league now, there's full-time, all the teams down south are full-time in the top league, the French league, the German league, Spanish, and so on. There's certainly time for that. I don't know if they'll call it the Europa League, but I'd like to think they'll keep it in line. If it is a Europa League style tournament, then I think that would be massive for the smaller nations, because it allows us to bring in more investment when you go and enter these competitions, money that come in. So I certainly think from that point of view, obviously it'd be exciting, but certainly as players to have more to play for through a season is even better. Looking at the men's game, 9 times out of 10, you know who's going to win the league. So if you don't finish in that top 3 and you maybe get to Christmas and you're 6th, 7th in the league, as a fan, what are you watching? That's no different as a manager, as a player, probably, that if you're fighting for maybe 3rd and 4th and you know that there's something to fight for when you land in these positions, it's going to make the leagues more exciting and more competitive as we go on. So certainly hope it's something that they kick on quite quickly with and introduce to the women's game.
And just obviously maybe looking towards this weekend's game, obviously I was going to say the season opener, but the season restart. What do you expect from Spartans at the weekend? Am I right in saying that we beat them on the first day of the season as well? So it's like we're kick-starting the season for the second time against Spartans. In fact, it's the third time in a row actually.
Yeah, after Sunday, I have played 9 competitive games with this group, and 3 of them have been against Spartans. So it's
like Scotland versus Israel.
That's us in the female game. Us against Spartans, it's Scotland Israel. So I think you always expect from Spartans, they treat it like a derby. I think we need to start getting that mentality in that game. I'm not going to lie, it is difficult because when you grow up, Hibs Hearts is a derby, so you've got no feeling towards Spartans in that sort of way, but they seem to have it towards us. They're always energetic, they're always aggressive, but I've always said if we match that, we'll win the game. So if we can match the energy and the aggression, I've got no doubt that we can get a positive result in that game. From a coaching point of view, that's one thing that we'll be mentioning. The players, I don't know if Rachel's got a different opinion from actually taking part in the game.
No, I think when we play against Spartans, as Dean says, they're always in your face and they're always getting at you. They're quite a vocal team, especially from the sidelines. So you've just got to kind of mute that out and just play your own game. Especially after getting beat from them in a pre-season friendly and seeing how excited they got by it, it really puts the fire in the belly that you want to beat them now and just get one over on them. So I think as a group this week, we'll definitely be focusing towards that game, and there'll be nothing else on our minds other than 3 points on Sunday.
Can you take that as a compliment, Rachel? Obviously, if a team's losing their shit at beating you in a pre-season friendly, like, surely that's just got to, it must, okay, you've lost the game, but give you a little bit of, not even confidence, but ego boost to actually sort of say, like, well, this is like, albeit the investments come from Glasgow, you're still at that level where teams are really wanting to beat Hibs.
I can understand where they're coming from, because it wasn't that long ago I was playing for Aberdeen and we were never one of the top teams, and when we ever got a result against a Hibs or a Celtic or one of the top teams, then we were absolutely buzzing. So I can understand where their delight comes from, but now that I'm on the other side of that, I don't want to see that come from them ever again. So I'll definitely be trying to go out there and make it right on Sunday so that we can keep them quiet on Twitter on Sunday night.
Nothing worse than noisy neighbours, eh?
Yeah, no, I guess in a way that kind of makes your team talk a bit easier, Dean, that, like, you know, they've already done it once, they've been a bit rowdy. We don't want that to happen again. Is that the type of attitude you have for a lot of games? Like, even against Rangers, I watched that early in the season, I thought quite unlucky to lose that one. So is that the type of team talk you'll be given?
Yeah, I mean, some teams are quiet and their team talks, like you say, are probably harder. The ones that are being noisy, you don't really need to say much in terms of motivation. So yeah. I think when you play the quieter teams, you need to be more motivating them. When you play the louder teams, you probably just need to talk more tactically and what we need to do to go and win the game. So the motivation should be there on Sunday. We shouldn't have to get anyone up for that game. Like Molly says, if they played us in a friendly, they beat us 2-1. They were wasting time at the end of the game. I thought the point of friendly was to get minutes in the legs and run and get fit, but that's how much it meant to them. And in a way, that's what we've got to go and match, because if we don't match that, we're going to make it difficult. So the players know that. I like to think that Sunday's team talk can be more tactical than motivation, because there's not much that we should need to say to go and put that right on Sunday.
Yep.
Perfect.
And I just had one. We're going to go into some quick fire questions, but I just had one more for yourself, Rachel. And for any listeners that haven't seen you play, what type of player would you say that you are when you're on the pitch?
I'd say I'm quite technical. I like to get on the ball and get the ball to feet and make passes. I tend not to get involved in the hustle and bustle of things, but I like to float off and try and find little pockets of space and just make things happen for the team. And wherever I get played, whether it's holding midfield, further forward the pitch, I just like to be on the ball and try and make things happen, as I say. So yeah, that's probably me in a nutshell.
Sounds quite similar to me when I play five-a-sides, to be honest.
I'll get a game then.
as soon as I heard hustle and bustle, I was like, oh, that, like, avoiding that. I was like, that sounds like me. When I was playing football, I would come off the pitch cleaner than when I went on. Just refuse to put my foot in.
I'm not like that. I like to get stuck in and short start. I'm used to go off a heat at the state I used to get.
Can you play centre half? We're looking for one.
I'm actually this podcast ball playing centre half. So
Right, so we'll move into the quick fire questions, maybe to get to know you a little bit better. Some of them are, they're mainly football orientated-ish. So Rachel, we'll come to you first. Aberdeen or Edinburgh?
Aberdeen.
It's
my home. It's where my family is.
Best player played with?
There's two, Kim Little and Caroline Weir.
Caroline Weir, legend.
Mm-hmm.
Kim Little, legend. They're just in the element of
That's also true.
Worst trainer in the squad?
People would probably say me, but I don't agree with that. So, I don't know. Who would it be? I'm going to go Carla.
Okay. Best goal you've scored for Hibs?
There's not many, to be honest. I think it was one that actually counted as a goal, and it shouldn't have been a goal. It wasn't over the line. I hit it from about 25 yards, and it hit the crossbar and bounced on the line, and I got it given as a goal. I was delighted. It's against Spartans, so probably that one.
We take them. And custard cream or bourbon cream?
Custard cream.
Perfect. And Dean, who has more Scotland caps, Rachael Boyle or Joelle Murray?
Joelle Murray.
So, best goal you've seen Rachael score, ideally over the line?
Motherwell. I think we won 6-0 or something.
If you could have any one player join the squad, who would it be and why?
Probably Caroline Weir. She knows the Scottish game, she knows the club, and she's arguably one of the best players down south right now, which is arguably the best league in the world. So, yeah, probably Caroline Weir.
Best trainer
sitting on the bench then.
Best trainer in the squad, and can you confirm if Rachael is actually the worst trainer in the squad?
First question, best trainer, I'd probably say Kirsty Morrison, because every time I go and have conversations after training, we never mention her, which is, she's so quiet, she comes, she gets on with it, she works hard, she's never a problem. By far the best trainer that we've got. She likes a wee moan, a 60-minute and up the road comment and that sort of thing. But what I will say is when the club finally lose her, we'll never find anyone more influential. So a bit of negative, a bit of positive there.
And
so I am the worst trainer, is that what you're saying?
that was the most backhanded.
That wasn't confirmed or denied, but I think we can make our own mind up after that.
You need to, not only do you need to get involved in the hustle and bustle a bit more in the game, you need to pull your socks up at training. And custard cream or bourbon?
Custard cream.
As I say, I don't know why that popped in my head today. Just one of my mates put it on his Instagram story and was telling everyone that bourbon creams are better than custard creams, and I went scrapping with him, like absolute wrong. So they were all for me. Harry, you're normally the host of the Harry's High B quiz, so I think you should. And this Harry's High B quiz, Dean, maybe you've listened. Rachel, let's be honest, you've never listened to us talk pish about Hibs. So he just makes it up on the spot. So Harry, make up a couple of questions on the spot as well. What have you got?
It's just completely off the cuff. So obviously league position, no ideal. But to give us an advantage for the rest of the season, we get to choose a new shape of ball. What shape of ball would you choose to play with for the rest of the season? It can either be from another sport. So, for example, you could pick a golf ball, or you could just pick a cube of that. So, just any shape. What shape of ball would you choose?
Any shape.
Right. It can't be a sphere because that'd just be a bit boring. So, aye.
Right. Probably go triangle.
Wait, what? Would it just be a flat triangle, or would it be like a pyramid?
Sliding it.
Aye, pyramid. How can you kick something that's flat? It'd be a pyramid, would it?
At least you couldn't be accused of being a direct football team that way, because that's not getting off the ground.
We play in triangles, so we might as well play with a triangle.
Oh, see, now we're thinking.
I like that.
Top trainer I am.
Always pay attention.
And Dean, what ball would you pick?
Let's take small out starting 11 and turn it into rugby, and we'll get a bit of fight about us.
Right. Well, here's a follow up to that then. Who would be best suited to play rugby in the squad? Because you obviously have some people in mind. Then, if you're saying get some fight,
Siobhan Hunter. She can shell the ball about 60 yards without trying, and I wouldn't fancy going shoulder to shoulder with her. So Shiv's captain on that one.
Perfect.
I couldn't really think of a question to ask. I'm a massive Erin Cuthbert fan, so I just wanted to throw Erin Cuthbert in there and just. What's your guys' opinion on Erin Cuthbert? Because I think she's magic.
Shout out to Ez.
Aye. Fun fact. Aye. Back of my head.
She's unreal, that lassie.
Aye, something like.
Great crack as well. She's good chat.
If you could win one last game this season, or win one of your fixtures remaining this season 7-0, which game would you win 7-0 and why?
There is a right answer.
Yeah, there's a lot of wrong answers here.
Hearts on the telly.
Aye, Hearts. We'll go with Hearts.
It's the right answer, isn't it?
They do like a 7-0 defeat.
You're making us give them motivation for team talks here.
Again, this will be up in the Hearts favourite. Dean Gibson says Hibs are going to pump us 7-0. No, well, I think we don't want to take up any more of your time. So thank you very much for coming on. Best of luck on Sunday and for the rest of the season. Hope we might get you on again throughout the season. Though you're obviously both going to be extremely busy. But yep, thank you very much for coming on, guys.
No, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah, thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
And we'll be back next week on the back of Hibs hopefully beating Queen of the South in the Scottish Cup. No Scottish Cup preview this week across our episodes with Long Bangers or the Hibs ladies team. But will we just get a quick score prediction from Liam, Harry and Greg before we go?
Well, I think seeing as I've won the Highby quiz 2 out of 3 times, and I've won the Highby the week every week so far, I would say whatever I say, get yourself down the bookies and bet responsibly. bet responsibly, but get your dough on this. I'm going to go 3-1 to the Hibs.
Harry?
I think that we're going to show solidarity and respect with our Edinburgh counterparts, and I'm going to go for 3-2 to Queen of the South.
Wait, just before you come in, please tell me that you are not telling us that the Scottish Cup doesn't count like you did with the League Cup.
No, mate, the bigger fish to fry, and the biggest fish to fry this season is the Scottish Cup. I'm happy to throw that in the fryer, matey. Right.
And Greg, your score prediction?
I'm glad Liam mentioned betting and Harry mentioned Hearts, because when the fun stops, stop. For me, I'll go a solid 2-0.
Aye, I think I'm thinking on the same lines. I don't think it's going to be a pretty game. But in the South are having a decent season after a really bad start to the season. It'll be tricky, but I think our quality should shine through as the Premiership side, unlike the teams that they've been playing recently. And I think we'll win 2-1. I don't think it'll be easy.
Hopefully keep our unbeaten record on plastic pitches going as well.
Absolutely. Well, lads, thanks again for joining us on both the episodes that we've recorded this week. Like I say, we'll be back next week and we will be then looking forward to the split. Cheers.